Hi, I'm Andrew Liptak, the Guest Services and Public Relations Coordinator for the Vermont Historical Society. I have here today a couple of items from our collection from a Vermonter named Edwin Little. Edwin was born on October 24th, 1918 in North Poultney, and he grew up on a farm, and as a child, he was fascinated with an exciting new technological development, flight. At the age of 10, he began helping a local pilot with some carpentry jobs, and in exchange, he earned some flying lessons. When the Empire of Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in December 1941, the United States entered the Second World War, and across the country, millions of young men signed up to serve in the US military. Edwin was qualified to enlist in the Army Air Corps, and he, along with 22 other cadets in a training group that was assembled through local Elks chapters, began their testing in January 1942. And in March, he entered active duty as an aviation cadet. Edwin spent a year training and was promoted to second lieutenant in March 1943. And in May, he received his orders to join the 8th Air Force's 305th Bombardment Group. Aerial warfare was a really new concept for military strategists at this time. While militaries had used planes during the First World War, their use was often limited to battlefield reconnaissance and some dogfighting. By the time the Second World War rolled around, air power had become much more sophisticated. It utilized new advanced aircraft and strategies to guide their use. Edwin flew aboard a B-17 bomber known as a Flying Fortress. These planes flew high and fast over enemy territory to deliver their payloads to their targets, often enemy factories or population centers. And these were intense, dangerous missions. Bomber crews faced not only ground-based anti-air defenses that filled the skies with flak, but enemy fighter planes, which could swarm and take down their larger bombers. B-17s could protect themselves. They were armed with guns and could fly in protective formations, but thousands were shot down over the course of the war. If crews completed 25 missions, they were sent home, and few made it. According to the Imperial War Museum in England, more than half the bomber crews were killed in action, and only a quarter survived unscathed. After being sent to England, Edwin was assigned to a crew as a co-pilot and flew his first combat mission over France on June 15, 1943. The first item I have from him is this unit patch for the 305th Bombardment Group. And these types of patches were used as a way to identify their members and to instill a sense of pride and camaraderie amongst their numbers. These types of patches were first used in the 19th century and became widespread over around the First World War and afterwards. They were often designed in-house and communicated something about the unit's culture and mission. And that's what this patch for the 305th does. It features an armored hand holding a bomb, and it's flying over a broken swastika with their motto, "Can Do." Over the rest of 1943, Edwin undertook bombing missions over the German cities of Hulls, Hanover, Cassel, Kiel, the Ruhr Valley, Flushing, Belgium, Paris, France, and several others. In September, he was named pilot. He was promoted to first lieutenant and then given his own plane, which he named the Green Mountain Rambler in honor of his home state. After that, he led his squadron, and then he led the entire bombing group over the course of the fall and completed his final mission on December 24th, 1943. He was promoted to captain and then returned to the United States in May 1944, after which he served as a flight instructor at the Army Air Base in Gulfport, Mississippi. In the records that Edwin left with us at the Vermont Historical Society, he left notations for some of these missions. Got a hole in the airplane, had 15 to 20 German fighters, left waist gunner was killed, 2 hours of fighter attacks, heavy flak, fighters are darn tough. Lost Dave Miller and his entire crew. Group broke up, P-47 saved our necks, and finished my missions, sure got wet that night. He also provided images that he took of the missions and of the damage that his bomber sustained. 1947, the US Army Air Corps became its own dedicated branch of the US military, the US Air Force. Edwin continued to serve in this newly formed branch into the next global conflict, known as the Cold War. Between 1948 and 1949, he flew in what's now known as the Berlin Airlift, bringing critical supplies to West Berlin, which had been blockaded by the Soviet Union. After that, Edwin went on to work on a variety of other classified projects, including the development of intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, and the SR-71 spy plane. 1968, he was promoted to Brigadier General, and that brings us to the other item we have of his officer's cap. This is part of the uniform that Edwin would have worn later in his career. And this type of dress service cap is worn as part of what's called a Class A uniform, which would typically be worn for daily duty when you're not in the field. This hat features the U.S. Air Force's coat of arms, and that has 2 sets of 3 thunder clouds on the brim, and that symbolizes U.S. air power. Edwin retired from the Air Force in 1970 and moved back to Vermont, and he was known as the General around Fairhaven, where he settled. He passed away on November 27, 2004, and is buried in Fairhaven Cedar Grove Cemetery. And before his death, he donated a number of items and papers that spans his entire career. When he took his first flight at the age of 10 in 1928, planes were downright primitive compared to what was in the air a half-century later. He flew aboard a bomber that represented a huge advance forward in military strategy in 1942, and took part in the development of planes that would break the sound barrier and which would hit the edges of the atmosphere. And that's what I find most exciting about this collection. It showcases not only the enormous development that you see the US military undergo, but that of the entire world of aviation, and that's all in his career. Thanks for watching. To find out more about the Vermont Historical Society and Edwin Little, please take a look at the description below where you can find more details about the items in our collection, subscribe to our channel, and find links to our website and social media accounts.